The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Welcome back to the show, all Cherries fans and also our friends from Nottingham Forest. Now, this is a top of the table clash. Who the hell would have thought that at the start of the season? Well, I didn't. I actually even predicted, sorry, Forest fans, I predicted for you to go down. But hey, I was wrong yet again. But before we get stuck into this preview, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. Find out more about them, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So Nottingham Forest are sitting pretty at the moment in third in the Premier League. Of course, recently were 1-0 up against Liverpool, only to be pegged back in the final moments. Now, Forest do have a little bit of a tricky run coming up with the four sides that after they've played the South Coast sides, the four sides they've been beaten against this season. But of course, they are coming to Dean Court first. And of course, they haven't got a very good record here, as we all well know. Of course, back in 2022, there was that game, against them where, it should have been played, I think it was January, February time, wasn't it? And of course it was postponed because it was very, very windy. And then we beat them on the penultimate game to win promotion back to the top flight. Kiefer Moore and Phil Billing are no longer at the club, Forest fans, but there's lots more threats that are. So we've had this special guest on before, and it is a pleasure to welcome back on to Up the Cherries in all departments from the red side of the trends, Adam. Welcome to the show, Adam. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, Craig. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well. Who would have thought that this is a top of the table clash? It does remind me back to 2022, I should say, 2022. But yeah, 2022. And of course, that big game at Dean Court. This is probably when the original game should have been, but a couple of things fell off our ground, as you can probably remember. But what do you make of this? A top of the table clash between Forest and Bournemouth?
Yeah, it's where we should be, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think isn't this your best season since Brian Clough? Sure
No. So we came third when we got promoted in the 94-95 season. We either got promoted or we was promoted, and Frank Clark got us to third, and we got to the UEFA Cup. We was playing teams like Bayern Munich, so maybe we'll be playing teams like Bayern Munich again next season. Who knows?
We've never played Bayern Munich, funny enough. I wonder why that is. But we might be going to Bayern Munich next season, Real Madrid. Well, we've played them, albeit in a friendly, and got torn apart. But yeah, it's exciting times, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just good for the league that not just us, but several different teams are battling it up there and kind of upsetting the apple cart, as I've called our show that we're going to do. And I think it's brilliant for the neutral as well, because it is boring seeing the same old teams do it every season, isn't it? And it's just nice for different faces to be up there and challenging, and it's great.
Well, you could and to be honest, it was a late equaliser that pegged him back. You could have easily beaten Liverpool recently, top of the table. Of course, you've already beaten them once this season. You nearly did the double over them. And I think, like you say, it's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. When I look at the results that you've got and what you've done, it is incredible. And long may it continue, and long may, both teams be really successful. But what is the secret? Because you survived, Adam, by the skin of your teeth last season. A lot of people criticised you for sacking Steve Cooper. Of course, he went over to Leicester and managed to last even shorter period of time. But, a lot of people criticised you for sacking Steve Cooper. But what has changed under Nuno in such a short space of time?
I think we spoke about this, didn't we, last season? Because Nuno just come in and then Rob Jones sent off Willy Bolly for a perfectly timed tackle on Adam Smith. And,
yes,
it was like the phantom red card. I've never honestly, the officiating last season was atrocious. I mean, on Sunday it was no better, to be honest, for Anthony Taylor. I digress. I think Nuno, especially in that first game against yourselves, he just made us look more of a Premier League side. He got us 10, 15 yards up higher the pitch. And it was a really, really good game. Dominic Solanke, obviously, nemesis, scored a hat-trick. Bournemouth, nemesis. They're firmly on that list with teams like Warsaw, Diego Jota, Jordan Rhodes, just to name a few. But I think he just changed our mentality in terms of we do belong here. And I think that's something that he's changed. And then I think going forward after that, and I remember you actually saying, it says, "Oh, your manager bounce will come afterwards," and we beat Newcastle and Man United. And I think I messaged you actually and said,
"Yeah,
have you been putting bet? Did you put bets on that?" Because it was just so strange. So yeah, that's been one thing. I think consistency. I think the purchase of Nikola Milenkovic from Fiorentina has definitely helped, because him and Murillo have pretty much played every game together bar one. So I think just those sort of things and a mentality that's completely shifted from where relegation scrappers to we can be better. We are overachieving at this present moment in time. I will admit that, but why not? Both teams, why not? Because we're clearly good enough. We're clearly good enough. We're there on merit.
Well, of course, we are the other informed team in the Premier League at the moment. We did play another informed team in Newcastle last Saturday, and we absolutely wiped the floor with them. Are you worried about coming to Bournemouth despite, and I've said this a couple of times actually to opposition fans, and funny enough, Adam, I've said the wheels will come off in a moment because of the injuries, and they don't seem to be doing that. Are you worried of facing us, considering what Andoni is doing?
I would have been worried if you'd been on a 10-game losing streak, to be honest, Craig, just because it's Bournemouth.
Yeah.
We don't beat you home or away. I think we last beat you like 10 years ago. I think I've seen someone put. I think that was
something like that, isn't it? It's
ridiculous. Your record against your record against us is ridiculous. Though we do, I think in the last couple of seasons we managed to avoid defeat, and I would absolutely take that pre-match, to be honest. But then I did realise about your injury issue, and I'm sure we'll talk about that on our show. it's staggering how well you're doing with what adjustments you have to make in Iraola. But yeah, no, I am worried because Bournemouth are a good side and have always played good football, and it's two different kind of styles going against each other, though some stats will point towards that Bournemouth are also a counter-attacking side, so it could be two similar teams taking on each other. And I'm always worried. The next 6 games for Forest are absolutely massive. It could be a season defining of where we finish in the league or what European competition we finish in. But luckily, I think a lot of the sides in that top 10 are playing each other in the next few weeks. So I think the gaps and the narratives will all start to emerge very, very quickly. But yeah, no, I am worried because there's no easy game in the Premier League. We were 3-0 up against Southampton at the weekend, and I thought it was going to be about 5 or 6 at half time, and it ended up being 3-2 and squeaky bum time. So I don't take any game lightly in this league, and no one should really.
I'm going to probably bring up a bit of a controversial point again, and Forest fans are going to probably hate me for bringing this up. Of course, Nottingham Forest in the past 2 seasons since promotion, I've spent a hell of a lot of money, bought in a hell of a lot of players. This past summer, just gone, although you bought in a fair few players, it wasn't as ridiculous, let's say. It wasn't as ridiculous. I think the first season it was born out of necessity. But do you feel that maybe because you haven't signed as much, because there is less disruption to what is a very good squad, that has really helped you this year?
Yeah, I think so, because I think you look at our lineup for the last several weeks. I think only Elliot Anderson and Nikola Milenkovic are new players to the first 11. So I think it is down to that. And I think I said to you at the start that the secret's been consistency. And I think consistency with the choice of first 11 has been that constant throughout the season. And that's why I think we've managed to build such a good points tally so far this season. So yeah, I would put it down to that. We brought players in to bulk out the squad, and I think there's been a massive shift on the timeline of Forest fans, especially on Twitter, of where we want to finish and certain standards of players. So like our squad players and like depth have been getting criticised because maybe they're not quite up to where we are right in the league. But it's funny how they were fine to get us into like mid-table or just below mid-table. They'd be completely fine players because you could introduce them into the team quite slowly and quite nicely. But because we've done so well, it's been really, really difficult for them. And then when they come on and maybe not quite up to the standard of what the first 11 is showing, they're getting criticised, and it's a little bit unfair. So it's just such a strange season. I'm still kind of pinching myself every day when I look at that league table.
Yeah, same here, to be honest, albeit, you are one of probably the only side, we expected Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City to be up there. But we didn't expect Nottingham Forest, and you're probably the only side that we can say that we're properly envious of at the moment, considering your position. And that is saying something, considering the season that we've had as well. I want to bring the point on to James Ward-Prowse. Now, of course, he has got a bit of an affiliation with that lot down the M27. He always seemed to do very, very well against us, also for West Ham as well. But he's not played very many games for you. But when he has played, has he been effective?
Difficult to say. When he first came in, he got chucked in straight in that game at Liverpool and was really instrumental in that performance and played really, really well. He played then the next few games, and then he got sent off against Chelsea in a game where it warranted it, because I think Nicholas Jackson was getting away from a poor touch he had actually in that game. And then because we was playing West Ham, he got taken out of he was not going to get played anyway because other players were going to end up playing that game, so needed the match sharpness. And because of the form we've been on, he's just really struggled to get back into that side. And even come on as a sub, he's not been one of the first 5 substitutions to come on and try and see a game out, apart from Wolves recently. And I feel really sorry for James Ward-Prowse because he seems like a really, really top professional. I mean, he's played, over 400 games in the Premier League, and he's someone that you need within your squad, I think. And I like I said, I feel sorry for him because he's got such quality, especially from dead ball situations, which can give you, 5 to 10 goals a season sometimes. So it's been one of them, but equally, I wouldn't want him to go back either because I think he's a valuable member of the squad. But then we've got Danilo and Sangare back in training now, so it's and with a lone player, are you going to prioritise his game time over players who are contracted to I'm not so sure. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
He probably will turn up at the weekend. He'll probably score against us, and we'll probably go, oh, not again. But looking at the other squad members as well, there has been a lot of talk about Nico Williams, of course, this season, and the effect he's had. But are you concerned about players as the transfer window gets closer and closer to closing? Are you worried about players leaving, especially considering? Because I certainly am with some of our players. Of course, Cherries is one person that's continuously linked with Liverpool. And I'm sure, considering Richard Hughes is there, that it is probably not a rumour. It's probably something that he wants to happen. But are you concerned about the Forest players, considering there has been quite a bit of talk around some of them?
Not for this window. I think we've got the ball in our court as such because players are on contracts, and there's a lot of talk about players already in talks with the club to get those contracts extended. Certain players we are worried about, like there's not been a talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi or Nico Williams getting contract extensions, and they both deserve it, and they've both been pivotal this season and last to an extent. So, but for this window, not really. So that's been nice. There's been like fringe players and players that haven't been really part of the squad that you'd even forget about, like Emmanuel Dennis, who we just need to move on. Andrew Amadile, I think there's been talk of him going on loan with an option to a permanent to Leeds for several weeks, but doesn't seem to have materialised. To be fair, I wouldn't want to lose him permanently because he's got quite a lot of potential at centre half. But yeah, it's more just fringe players need to get moved on either on or young players need to go out on loan. I don't think any of our first team squad, apart from Taiwo Awoniyi, is on like any danger of getting moved out of the club. But equally, we need to bring in a player that would replace that person as well. So not necessarily. I don't think Bournemouth should be either, because to be fair, you can't afford to lose anyone else with the injury.
Well, exactly.
You'll be playing the kit man.
Yeah, exactly. With regards to Cherries, of course, he's wanted by Liverpool. Richard Hughes was instrumental in bringing him into the football club. And, I think it's probably a little bit more than a rumour that, Richard Hughes is probably going to try and take him to Liverpool as well at some point. But we have got that contingency plan of Julio Sola, who's been bought in. But the problem is he's also gone back out to South America for, I think it's some sort of tournament or something that's going on. So, we can't afford to lose anybody. But one player that has surprised me, surprised everybody, I think, this season, Chris Wood. He just seems to pop up every time you're looking at the scores. And you're like, Forest are ahead again. Forest, and you look at it, oh, that's Chris Wood. Yeah, there we are. He scored again. How many times I've done that at Dean Court, and I've been surprised that you're beating somebody, quite convincingly. How good has he been? He's rolled back the years a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's one goal away from his best season in the Premier League as well. And to be fair with Chris Ward, he's scoring all different types of goals this season as well. First opening game of the season, scores a poacher's goal against yourselves. He scored a header at the weekend from an average cross from Olarena, I would say. He scored a nice little lob over Jordan Pickford. He scored an outside of the box shot against Dina. He's scoring all types of goals, and I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's just all clicked for him, but he doesn't need many opportunities either. I think if you look how many shots he's had this season, I think it's like less than 50, and his conversion rate's well above 30%. I think he's the highest converted striker in the league. So don't give him a chance, basically, I would say. But I mean, it's going to be a tough task against the two at centre half for Bournemouth, who, I mean, I think I'm so shocked that Bournemouth haven't been spoken about more in the media, because Zabania and Dean Huijsen have been excellent this season. I mean, they're going to have a tough game. Chris Wood's going to have a tough game against them. But yeah, he's just been brilliant this season. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of the service he's getting or just the style of play, but everything he's touching seems to keep going in the back of the net. And I'll be disappointed if he doesn't get 20 this season. I really would, with 16 games to go. He needs another 6 goals. The way he's going, he should get he might get 25 at this rate. And that would be, I think people might fall on the floor for that kind of thing.
Oh, it'd be incredible. It'd be incredible. And like we said, he has kind of turned back the years a little bit. Everybody, and I know that Leicester fans have been moaning about Jamie Vardy and saying, well, he's getting beyond his best, his sell-by date's gone. Chris Wood is like the Duracell bunny. He just keeps going and going and going and going and going. You did bring up a very good point there, Adam. And it's a bit of a sour point for me, and it's probably a sour point for you, is with regards to the media. Yeah, we haven't probably been, our praises haven't been sung about, as much in the media, but I don't think Forest have in a particularly good way as well at times, because I was listening to Simon Jordan on TalkSport, and he touched upon the Southampton win, and he was saying that Southampton were unlucky not to get a point in that game, and that he thinks that Forest might fall away. There's always that expectation. There's been that expectation with us all season. Everybody's been like, they're going to fall away. What do you say to somebody like Simon Jordan and put the point that Forest aren't going to fall away?
I mean, if you're touching on the Southampton game, Southampton score a lucky goal to get back into it. Flynn Down should get sent off. We should score more goals. Milenkovic gets a goal ruled out for absolutely nothing, in my opinion. I still don't understand. So many things kept changing within that game to get Southampton back into it. Yeah, we reared our look at the end. Olaina clears one brilliantly off the line to keep it at 3-2 for us. But Southampton we should have been clear of them. I think there was a slight bit of complacency. But what I will say to someone like Simon Jordan is I think it was a good thing for us to have that moment of like, oh, we might be a little bit, we might be out of a depth here almost. Or not, sorry, that's probably the wrong wording. Like, I think that it was good that complacency crept in and we almost lost it, but we kept hold of the win. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. And I saw Morgan Gibbs-White say even to the owner, because the owner likes to congratulate every player down the tunnel after every game. It seems he seems to be there every week. And Morgan Gibbs-White, you could see he said that was too close. And I think he and a couple of the players who are amongst that leadership group will be saying we cannot let our standards drop just because of who we're playing, what the result is at half time, and blah blah blah. And I think we have to keep our foot on the gas if we are gonna challenge for these top 5 to 8 places, if you want to call it that, because I think 8th will get you into Europe depending on who wins cup competitions, etc. So it's funny. Media pundits flip flap so much. I'm pretty sure Simon Jordan bet Jim White was going to win the league £100 2 weeks ago. So it really doesn't matter. That it's all very here and there. But yeah, no, I feel sorry for Bournemouth of not getting any media attention either, because I think Iraola is doing a brilliant job without losing Dominic Solanke, now losing Evan Nilsson, a list of players that you could field an 11 with.
Yeah,
let's get it right, and you're still hanging on there with joint second best form in the league at the moment. So it's the media work in strange ways, I think.
Well, to be honest, when Ipswich were 1-0 up at Portman Road against us, the media absolutely seemed to love it. Absolutely seemed to love it. It was like, oh, the wheels are coming off and everything like that. And at that point, we turned it right around, beat them 2-1. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it was a poor performance, but at the same time, you know, you're going to have those moments in a season, I should say, and you know, it's how you react to that, and you know, there is going to be tough spells. But you did mention there about Marinakis. You know, we have got a very, very, very good chairman ourselves in Bill Foley. Wants to spend a lot of money. You know, of course, PSR was a big, big thing last season. I said it about, you know, Forest and Everton shouldn't have been penalised. You look at Man City, what they've done wrong. But Marinakis, you know, would you say, or what would you say to convince people that he is the best owner in the top flight at the moment?
I mean, that'd be some stretch, wouldn't it? It's hard to gauge who's the best owner in the league, really. Because I guess
I don't know,
do you,
you know.
is it based on like the team's success, how much money they're generating, etc., etc. I think he's the most. I would say he's got the most like balls, if any owner,
Yeah,
maybe. I think if Richard Masters was like in front of him, he'd tell him what's what, and he would not give a flying
yeah,
what he thought about him. I think he's got that kind of aura about him. He's definitely super ambitious, as is probably all the owners in the Premier League, I'd say.
mhm,
So I don't want to take anything away from anyone else and say, oh, he's more ambitious than this. I think he's just because he's in the media a lot more and he's a bit more
yeah.
outspoken. And obviously what's happened at Olympiacos and in Greece, which is like possibly, it seems like it could be one of the most corrupt leagues in Europe, couldn't it? It's like
Yeah,
it's like these African leagues where like a team needs to win 11-0 to win the league, and something like that would happen in Greece, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think his enthusiasm and his passion get turned against him almost because
Mhm.
he can come across as a bit of a loose cannon. But I think he's a very, very clever person at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think he's just got a lot. He just wears his heart on his sleeve. But I think we're quite thankful to have him because he has put his money where his mouth is. I don't know if you've watched the overlap too much, but Greg, who's a Forest fan and does another Forest podcast, he went on there and he said the points deduction was worth it in the end.
Yeah.
He said that because if we survive, the points deduction's worth it. And then it looked like where we are now. We can all turn around to the rest of the league and say it was worth it because I was second in the league. So basically, everyone break the rules. You'll get into Champions League.
It was still unfair though, considering, you know, what other teams are spending. And, you know, if you've got a wealthy owner, you know, like Marinakis, like Bill Foley, you know, you should be able to spend to make it more competitive. Why should Man City have it all their own way or Liverpool? You know, if Jim Ratcliffe spends loads at Manchester United, you know, which I'm pretty sure that he's probably going to do at some point, you know, why should they be able to do that to propel themselves into the top, you know, top end of the league? So, you know, I think it's really, really unfair. I think it's unfair what happened to Everton. Of course, they're not reaping the benefits of, you know, what they've spent because it was spent so badly. But, you know, that's my honest opinion on that. But of course, you are coming to our place. You haven't got a very good record down here. I've got to be honest. Of course, we do remember that 1-0 win, which effectively got us promoted from the Championship back at the end of 2022. You'll be pleased to know there's no Billing and there's no Kiefer Moore. They've both gone. No Solanke, no Solanke, of course. He wasn't here for the game at the City Ground either. And we had to place a menu up front. But how can you see this going? Can you still see Bournemouth being a real handle for you? And can you actually change things and get a victory at Dean Court?
It's going to be a difficult game because you've got some really good informed players. I love Antoine Semenyo. I think he's brilliant. I mean, I benched him for the last 2 weeks of fantasy football, which has been a disaster. Justin Kluivert is probably one of the most informed attacking midfielders in the league at the moment. He's playing brilliantly. He took his third goal superbly well on Saturday. So yeah, I'm in no doubt in my mind it's going to be a really tricky game. I also think it's going to be a really tricky game for Bournemouth because it's a clash of like two slightly different styles of play. It's just who it could come down to one piece of magic really, and come down to being one goal. But I would like to think Nuno and Iraola would maybe even shake hands on a draw and kind of move on to next week. I'd hope, but I know neither will because they're both going really well. So I do worry. I think it's a game where Forest will naturally let Bournemouth have more of the ball, and the onus will be on you as the home team to come at us, and then it's whether we can exploit those spaces on the counter and on the turnover. I mean, and I know Kirkesh will like to get quite high up that wing to support Semenyo on the left wing. I know Dango Atara is going to run around like a lunatic up front to try and get Milenkovic and Murillo out into spaces they don't really want to be. So it builds for a fascinating game, and I really can't see it. I don't really know where it's going to go. I'd love us to hope that our depth comes into some sort of play and we can nick it. But again, like I say, it's just Iraola's got you well drilled and well organised. So I expect it to be a really, really tricky game, Craig, to be honest. But it could be a whirlwind. It could be like a 3-3 or a 4-4, which is, I mean, Bournemouth have kind of stopped that happening this season, it seems.
Well, yeah. Of course, a couple of times we've come up to the City ground, we've gone 2-0 behind, we've gone, oh no, this isn't our day, and then we've gone on 1-3-2. Sorry, Adam. I had to remind you of that one as well. We are a little bit of a bogey side, aren't we? Or becoming that now. I've got to be honest, though. I think this is going to be the toughest game I've had against you for some time, considering the form you're in and the way you're playing. I'm going to say it again because it works last week. And I'm going to say, I think the wheels are going to fall off this season. I think, at the end of the day, Evan Nilsson's out. Enisu now, of course, got the ACL the day after, the man that was meant to replace him. We've got no fit striker. We're really in dire straits. But I think we can get a point. Sorry, Adam, that did work against Newcastle, so I'm going to keep going with that until it fails.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but do tell everybody where they can find the Red Side of the Trent as well and what you do.
So Red Side of the Trent on YouTube, and then Red Side Trent on Twitter. I think it's Red Side of the Trent on Instagram as well, and TikTok. So yeah, just all social platforms. Just type it in. I'm sure you'll find us. But yeah, no. Thank you for having me, Craig.
Not a problem at all, mate. Not a problem. A pleasure as always. And do you think we might even be first on Match of the Day Saturday night? That'd be a unique one, wouldn't it?
0-0 last.
Yeah. Or do you think they're going to pick the mighty Brighton versus Everton, who have become less boring overnight, funny enough?
Your guess is as good as mine. Do you know what's funny, though? There's a producer for Match of the Day who is a Forest fan, but he says he doesn't get a say in the order unless we've had a really good result.
Oh, come on. We need to actually get Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest first game on Match of the Day. But no doubt.
If it's a thriller, I'm sure it will be. If it's a thriller, it will definitely be.
Yeah, it's got to be, and it's got to be. But no doubt they'll pick something else. We just PS both off. But no, Adam, thank you so much for coming on, and no doubt we'll catch up very, very soon.
Yeah, thanks, Craig.
And thank you for joining us. Hit the like, subscribe, the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. Do go check out all of our other videos as well. We've got loads of stuff in the interview tab as well. Also do go check out our new sponsors as well, who are sponsoring our Canva, Touchpoint Telecoms. So go check them out as well. We will be back for another show very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled, hit the bell, you'll be alerted. Until the next one though, up the cherries, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us.
TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.